Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Very well, thank you. Let's just give others some time to join. Hi, Bumi. How you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome. Someone is in the spotlight session chat. Um, Sorry, just a moment. I need to join. I think some people went to join the wrong meeting room. I don't know why. So I'm just gonna join that room and tell them to get off.
Yeah, maybe they are joining the spotlight meeting
Yeah.
link.
Yeah, that was Pelumi and Vadim were both in that room. So let me re-highlight the correct link for them. Probably their WhatsApp got wiped or something. Hi,
Yeah, good morning.
good morning. Okay, for just a moment, please. Okay, yeah, I think we can get started, and then anyone who I know Vadim was on that other call, so I'm sure he will try to disconnect. Oh yeah, he's here now, and then others can join later. I think two persons have shared that they wouldn't be joining us today. They have other engagements. Um, Unor, I think yeah, Unor has his convocation today. Congratulations. And then another member of the team has to attend the burial ceremony today. So yeah. All right. Yeah, and like I said the last time, please guys, if you have the chance, I would really love for you to have your cameras on. It just helps me know I'm not speaking to bots, I'm speaking to real people, right? So yeah. Thank you. So where do we start? I think it would be good to start first with those who have done who have gone through the use case. Understanding, I know there's been a mix of like feedback. Some people are like, oh yeah, it's going well. Some people are like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, or whatever the case might be. And some are like, I think I'm stuck. Just to first of all, just to share, I appreciate the effort everybody has put, right? So because at the end of the day, what we are trying to achieve is, especially when you work in corporate worlds, right? And maybe you go into consulting, a lot of times you would get brought into meeting rooms or brought into meetings, and your customer would then share very like high level use cases. We're trying to solve this problem. So the first thing that you're meant to do is even to break it down, right? And which was why we started with the use case I gave to them, the last 2 weeks, right? So to actually break down what's your customer's problem, and then what's the possible ways to solve it, right? So your possible solution, you can continue to build on that solution, right? And like I said, there's no right or wrong answer, because in a real life scenario, when you implement at first, you would still continue to like optimize your policies, optimize your implementations and all of that, right? Till you then get to a good point, right? So yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, there's no right or wrong way. The idea is for us to all learn together, to share what we've done, and then we can then, for those that are feeling confused, they can then learn from others as well. Pelumi, it looks like you are in the market. So I think you're permitted to turn off your video just so that you can easily move around, and um yeah, till you're better situated. Thank you. So maybe let's start with those um, who are currently having issues with the use case. Can, by show of hands, like using the raise hand tool, can I see those who have done the use case, like you've completed it, you think you're in a good place? If you can just raise your hands so that, I can be aware how many people we have. Okay, Vadim, Clement, and Solomon, are you with us? Because I know you did share something with me. Or are you feeling shy to share with the house? Okay. Okay, yes. So because I know Solomon did share a link with me, so wanted to be sure if maybe it's been deleted or something. All right. And then it will mean that at the moment, Pelumi and Bumi, you did mention that you were having some issues trying to understand the use case, and that's fine. I think it was also the same for a couple of other people who reached out to me as well. So thanks guys. You can bring down your hands now. So I think let's start with Bumi first, just because I know Pelumi is currently on the go. So Bumi, the floor is all yours, and you can see that like at the moment, since we don't have a full room, you have all the time to, we can fully dissect your use case and then help to bring clarity. So yeah, we like to share like what exactly, like where are you at the moment? What do you need clarity on? Right. And then we can take it from there.
Okay, thank you. So, for the use case, what I actually did was to put the prompt, like the question prompt on ChatGPT, and then try to get like a step by step, and also rewatch the video. But then I found out that it was just like a click thing. Like go to is it emails and collaborations, then approve this, approve that. I think I approve about three. Let me just share
Please
my
do, if you
ChatGPT
can. Yes,
prompts. Just give a minute because I will need to open it up.
no problem. And then by any chance, did you go through some of those steps on the portal? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, I did. So by the time I was through, I applied it to the CEO's email. That was
Yes.
the only email I put. And then it was like you've set it up, and I was like I didn't say anything. It was just me, clicking things, and I was expecting, I don't know, maybe I was expecting that, there will be some kind of description at some point. So I was not sure if that made sense
Okay.
actually. Okay, I'm
Okay.
coming. I will just share I'm trying to open my chat. If I can open okay. I will share my chat while I try to open my Microsoft link to. I'll share my WhatsApp, sorry, my chat GPT
Okay.
prompt. Okay. Please, can we see?
Yes.
Okay. So this was actually the prompt.
Mm-hmm. This was the result that you got back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was the result of the prompts that I used. So I
Mm-hmm.
did all of these, logged in with the link shared for the Microsoft Defender, used my email and all of that. And then I applied it only to the first one, which I think is the CEO one, because
Okay.
I wanted to check if it's correct or something. And then yeah, email collaboration. I went to policy, rule, went to threat policy, anti-pitching. I did the name. I didn't add a description because I was not sure what the description was, but I also understand that it was actually not very compulsory. Like after I just
Yes.
put the name of the policy, I didn't put a description, and then I enabled all of this. And
Okay.
I think at this point, I was not sure because there were some other options that were given to characterize the message,
Yes.
show safety. It was just, I just felt like I was just doing a random click. And then when I was through with all of the click, it was like you now set it up. And I was like, what did I set up? So I was actually not sure what I did set up. So that was why I actually just did not even share it. But let me see if I can, let me stop sharing this and see if I can go to um my my Microsoft Defender
Okay.
and
So while
see
you're
if it's,
opening that,
yeah.
yeah. So while you're opening that, you were actually right on track. And that's because that's like, so the first thing is, in terms of, you could see that, it returned back, okay, what sort of license do you need? Or to be able to address, like, you've been given a use case, how do you address the use case, right? So what sort of, first of all, if it's a Microsoft environment, what license do you need as a security analyst or consultant to be able to address that use case? It gave you the license required, right? So the minimum required license. Then the next thing was also, okay, to be able to address this problem, what policies do you need to create, right? So one thing that we need to give clarity for everybody, because I know that I think Clement went the same route, a similar route, Solomon went a similar route, and probably Vadim as well. But then to give everyone clarity, the reason we are doing this is, so when you think of cybersecurity, there are two, I would say at the end of the day, yes, there are different roles and, career paths in cybersecurity. You could be a pen tester, you could be, you could be an analyst, you could be a SOC, analyst or whatever the case might be. But in truth, there are two major parts in cybersecurity. So there are blue teams and there are red teams. Blue teams manage proactive configurations. So proactively setting up policies and rules to protect the organization, right? So, and this could be things around like managing the endpoints, so the machines, managing users, how do emails, come in and go out of the organization and all of those. And then the red teams are reactive, right? So they react when an attack has happened. So when there has been a compromise, how do you then investigate, right? So that's the purpose of the red team. So for this particular use case that was given, it was putting you in the shoe of someone who is part of a blue team, someone who is meant to then configure policies to protect the organization ahead. And then, practicalizing that defense in depth that we spoke about. So when you created those policies, you wouldn't, like, from an admin end, and that's another thing too. Um, Administrators, what they see is different from what end users see, right? So because as an admin, you control the experience, you control how things move in and out. End users just want to send emails. They just want to send messages, right? They just want to upload their files and then carry out their day-to-day tasks. You control that experience for them. So, and that was why, if you notice towards the end of the use case, I then advise, like, if possible, to test. I don't know if I put it in that use case or I put it in our group chat. I know I put it somewhere, but I can't remember where. But then, like, if it's possible to test your policy, because unless you test it, you wouldn't really understand the implication of your policy, right? So now you created an anti-phish policy. The next step could have been, what you can then do is that, oh, okay, I've created this policy. What's the impact of it? How do I test that my policy, was correct? And you can actually present that back to ChatGPT, and it will give you a sample. Okay, maybe send an email as this user pretending to be the CEO and see if it gets caught. So for phishing policies, it might require you to use a bit of like code, right? Because you would need to send an email acting like that user, and you might not be able to create a mailbox, that will be similar to that CEO's email account. So you might need to use a bit of code and then authenticate as the user and then try to send that email. And at that point, when you send it, you would notice that it gets caught. But it's the simplest way to test your policies is if you were creating a spam email, like an anti-spam policy, which was why in the chat I then shared, a sample spam email. So if you were creating an anti-spam policy and you configured it, okay, you click the buttons and all of that, you put all the settings. The moment you configure it, if you then send an email, using your personal email address, you send that, what is going to happen is that email it's going to follow the route that you have set as the administrator. So if you set that spam email should go to the user's junk folder, it will go to the junk folder. If you set that it should be quarantined, you will find it in your quarantine. If you set that it should be deleted, it will be deleted. It will not get delivered to the user, right? So what that shows you is that you have the control as admin. and you determine what happens and what doesn't happen to that email. So just before you share, I don't know if I just want to get someone else's perspective as well, so that we can all, the idea here is, and that's to give clarity as well. So as a cybersecurity coach, my job is not necessarily to say, do this in, like, follow the steps 1, 2, 3 to achieve this. My job is to make sure that you do it yourself. You make your mistakes, you learn from the mistakes, you learn from others, right? Because when we make mistakes, the learnings tend to stick more, because we're like, oh, the last time when I did it this way, I don't think that was what I was supposed to do. My colleague did it the other way, and I think it worked better. This is what it looks like, right? So that peer learning, growing up, our parents would say, peer pressure is not good. Be careful about peer pressure and all of that. There are good sorts of peer pressure. So we try to encourage the good type of peer pressure in platforms like this. So I'm just gonna, yeah, exactly. Pelumi is laughing. There are actually, because there are certain levels, like, especially when you're with the right people, they encourage you to want to do and to be more, right? So you just need to keep your eyes open and be like, okay, is this the route I want to go or not? So I'm just gonna take another person, just so that we can get a chance, like everybody gets a chance to share a bit of what they've done, where they are at, and then we can then go back. If we need to refine our policies, we can go back and do that. Vadim, would you like to share a bit around, like, what you've been able to do? I know you also had a bit of, issues earlier. Have you been able to go through them? Like, yeah, just where you're at.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I have completed, I'd say, from the whole task, but the only thing what's left is GitHub. I'm not really familiar with GitHub, but anyway, I have it like on a text file there, all the materials prepared, just to put it in a right order. So last night I probably polished the last couple of bits for the use case one. Thanks to Raf as well. Like I tried to get his opinion as well. um, for at the very beginning, like I found it a little bit confusing because so I did open the use case one and did read everything, and then when I accessed the Microsoft Defender for Office 365, I lost the control of it, and I tried to so activate everything, like enter, connect, and like I that's why I got confused, and I didn't really know like where to stop and where not. But at the end, like I figured out. Because so everything I've seen there, when you open the Microsoft Defender, like it's asking you like once you open something, like it's asking for admin roles, activate licenses, and so on. And I ended up like with 30 tabs open and got confused. And then I close them and go back and read the use case one. Uh, yeah, so that's how you just got lost completely. I know it's a bit funny, but that's what I've done.
Yeah, it's a good problem. So everyone, just for context, like Vadim had reached out, and then he sent a screenshot. He was like, he was in the Entra portal. So Entra, in case you're not aware, Entra is the identity and access management solution for Microsoft. And then, he shared a screenshot of Entra that, oh, I'm trying to connect Entra to, Defender, but it's saying I don't have the right permissions. And I was like, we're addressing use case one. I don't think we're looking at Entra just yet, right? But guess what? It's normal, especially when you're just starting out with like trying to address use cases. And that's why use cases are really good, because it then lets you know how far you can go, and also it teaches you to calm down and focus on the problem, right? So in tech, we have what we call scope creep. It's possible, for example, say you take a project, maybe you end up doing consulting for businesses and you're charging like, say, $200 per hour or something, right? And you get a project from a customer and you guys define your scope of work, like these are the exact things we would be doing. As a consultant, it's very important that you stick to the things that you need to do or that you said you will do. If not, that project is going to take forever because you would always like, oh yes, I've configured this policy, but now I think we need to also do the Entra connection, or we need to connect to Sentinel, or we need to, and it doesn't stop. So we need to always know when to draw the line and just focus, just focus on the problem, solve the problem, present it to the customer, and say, yes, this milestone has been achieved. That's the end, right? So hands off, or know when to pass on to the next person, right? Or to escalate, as the case might be. Like, oh yes, I've done my part of the project. Now I'm done. Let's sign off. If you want an additional task, then you need to pay, for extra time, or let's discuss further. Let's define the problem and then solve it, right? So just a moment, please. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so now I'm going to pass to Solomon and then to Clement, right? So Solomon, do you want to share like what you've done so far in terms of the use case? I know yet again you also shared your you shared the link to your GitHub with me. And just to get an understanding of what you achieved, I know you picked one, you picked one policy and then you worked on that policy. So if you want to share with the team what you've done, and then once you're done, Clement, if you can then, I would appreciate if you can share your screen and actually show the team like your GitHub repo, if you can walk through the process that you went through. And I know you also did the test. So what did the test look like? And if it's possible to then also show, yeah, just what did the test look like? And then once you're done, I'm going to show everyone, for those who are a bit confused around, okay, I've done all these policies, but I'm not sure how I would document it on GitHub, right? So I'm going to actually show us how to do that, right? How to, and it's good, Vadim, that you mentioned you already put it in a text file, because I was going to advise that, like, for those of us who are not familiar with, using GitHub for documentations, you can always put it in a Word document or in a text file, right? And then at a later time, you can then transfer it to GitHub when you're sure of how to format and all of that, right? So, but I'm going to show us in the last, few minutes after Solomon has gone through and then Clement has also gone through his process, right? I'm going to show us how to do that. So yeah, Solomon, over to you. Are you good to speak or?
Okay, good morning, ma. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I'm in a noisy place and I'm using phone. I don't think I'll be able to share my screen. So let me just give a brief of what I did.
Okay,
My
no problem.
project. So in relation to, I don't know if you can hear me because my place is somehow noisy. Okay, all right. So with reference to the project's use case, my own focus, I focused on save link as one of the features of the policy when I browsed through under, what do they call it? Under the threat policies. So I was able to locate safe links. So what's the meaning of safe link? Safe link is we protecting what users can click on, as in the link, URL link. I don't know if we are familiar with URLs, like www. Or any link that can direct the users to a website or to download some files or any other things. So my focus is to safeguard every user on which links to click on whenever they receive such. Maybe not only in their mail, it can be through Teams, it can be even in form of files or documents, and maybe any other Microsoft apps. So my own focus is to protect every users from clicking malicious links that may affect the organization or that may affect whosoever clicked on it. So I was able to, first of all, sorry, I want to appreciate Mr. Clement because it's through his own project I was able to grasp what the case study is all about actually. But I think he focused on phishing, anti-spam, anti-spam mail. So I was trying to maneuver, I'm focusing on safe links. So I was able to log into Microsoft Defender, in which maybe I will need to share the link with the group later because I'm not actually comfortable where I am currently. So I think, hello?
We can hear
We
you.
can hear you.
Oh.
Solomon, we can hear you.
Hello, I think my network is not stable. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I want us to know that through which, if any user click, because the reason why I pick interest in me working on save link was because I noticed a single click on an untrusted link in maybe on Teams, in an email, or any of that can cause a lot of havoc. You might not know until it happens, maybe to our system, to our organizations. So that was the reason why I pick interest in working on on the project of SaveLink. So how does it work? How it works is when a user click on the link will not open automatically like that. The policy I created will first of all convert every link clicked by the user to a safety, I don't know how I put it, to another website actually, to another link that we, I don't know. How do I put this? That we detect whether the link is malicious or not. So once the link seems malicious, it might delete it or send it to spam or quarantine, depending on the policy or the end result we have put while assigning the link.
Yeah, I'm just sharing your GitHub, like the link to your GitHub with everyone so that they can sort of, and then I shared it in the group chat so they can also understand what you're talking about. So I think these are the policies that you're referring to, the safe links. So yeah, you can go ahead. And if you want me to scroll down so that it's easy for you to, run through your presentation, if you want me to scroll down, you can just let me know.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can. Can you see the screen? I'm sharing your project with everyone so that they can see the work you did.
Thank you. My network is not stable.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
After assigning the link, as in after creating the policy for every user or any, so this is how the policy works. Once a user receives any link, URL links in any of the Microsoft apps, the policy I created will scan through. Once it clicks, it will scan whether the link is safe to proceed by the user to click or not. So it's either the link is malicious, it will block the malicious link that we think the policy it doesn't meet up with the policy I created. So I was able to run through. I can't see the screen very well actually.
Okay, no problem.
Let
But
me
yeah,
change location. Maybe Mr. Clement can continue or can start his own.
yeah, no problem. But thank you. Thank you for, for the effort put and also for acknowledging the fact that, of course, you were able to learn from what Clement had done, and that helped to guide your configurations. And just to clarify for everyone, I know it can seem like a lot of, oh, okay, maybe the policies are already here. I just need to click through and all of that. Our job as, especially when you're working in as part of a blue team, our job is not just to set things up. It's also to test every single setting. What does this like? You should be able to explain to the customer by enabling this, this is going to be the outcome, right? If we enable like apply safe links to email messages sent within the organization, this is the exact way it's going to work. This is how it would be helping us as an organization. So the recommendation is always for every policy you enable, save it first, test it, verify that this is the way it works. This is how, it's meant to perform. Document that action, right? And then try another setting. So the truth is, it's almost like even configuring a phone, right? Or maybe you get a brand new laptop and you're trying to configure it. You want to be sure this is like, if I configure this, I'm going to be blocking the device from connecting to Wi-Fi. Or if I configure this, I'm going to stop people from being able to access my camera and stuff like that. You want to be able to assure that these are the exact things that would happen when I put a setting in place. So it's not just about click, click, click. It's about understanding the implications of every setting available, and then, giving the customer the chance to then optimize, right? So to better protect their environment. So thank you very much, Solomon, for the effort put. And at this point, I'll just hand over to Clement. Clement, if you can walk us through the thought process for your project, and then like in less than, if possible, in less than 10 minutes, and then we'll take any other questions from, I see, we've had more people join us. So if any of them have also completed theirs, or maybe they have questions on the process, we can take those questions before I then walk us through how do we actually create our GitHub repository. Over to you, Clement.
Okay, thank you, Joan, for the opportunity to speak. Good morning, and good morning, all. Should I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Just a moment. Okay, so the use case centered around mitigating fraud email at Contoso, and it was observed that some employees, especially the executives, were receiving spam emails in their inbox, and it was necessary for us to configure an anti-spam policy to be able to mitigate such fraudulent emails so that they will not fall victim of a spam attack. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
So what I did was I made Copilot my friend, seriously speaking, because I was also faced with confusion initially. Then what I did was to rewatch your video on how to create a GitHub account and how to also fork the Platform Explorer repository so that you can be able to use your own forked repository to carry out your documentation. So as you can see on my screen, this is my forked repository from Platform Explorer Cohort 1. So I'm able to edit this because I've already forked it, edit it, and so that I can be able to document my actions. So I went to Copilot and I made a prompt there that Copilot should assist me by giving me a step-by-step guidance on how to go about this use case. So, and I also included in the prompt that it should also help me on how to create the policy. And at every point, it should also include where I should take screenshots, how I should rename the screenshots. And also at the end of everything, it should be able to create a code where I'll be able to document all the actions I've taken in creating the anti-spam policy. So, so what I did was I accessed the Microsoft Defender policy at this website. Then I went ahead to, as you can see, this is the anti-spam policy. Initially, there were only two policies. Yeah, only two default policies. That is the connection filter policy and anti-spam outbound policy. So I had to create an anti-spam inbound policy. And the reason for this is because the employees, especially the use case, particularly asked us to create anti-spam policy for the CEO and the CFO. So that was why I created the inbound anti-spam policy to protect those two employees from receiving or from to protect them from receiving spam emails into their inboxes. So I created the policy and named it anti-spam inbound policy. Then I went to this, I navigated to email and collaboration, and I clicked on policy and rules. And then this is it. When I clicked on policy and rules, I was brought to this page. So I named the policy VIP anti-spam protection for CEO, CFO, and CISO. Then I also described it as an inbound anti-spam policy created to protect executive users from external spam and phishing emails. Then after I did this, I screenshot this page. When I screenshot the page, I renamed it as an inbound anti-spam policy for users. Then next, I went to user group and domain. So the use case scenario asked us to scope the policy to two users, which are the CEO and the CFO, and we were giving their accounts, their tenants accounts. I don't know if that's correct. They were giving their emails. So what I did was that on this user group and domain, I scoped it to just two users. So I specifically scoped it to the CEO and the CFO, so that as well as not to affect other employees, because the mandate that was given to us, or the instruction that was given to us, that we should scope it to just two users. So that was what I did, so that I will not break anything on the tenants. So I scoped it to Prajip and Adele. Then I clicked on next. I screenshot this page again for the sake of my documentation. I screenshot this page. Then I also renamed the screenshot as inbound anti-spam policy scoped to VIP users only. Next, I was brought to this page, which is the bulk email threshold and spam properties. So this has to do with you are configuring. This has to do with how you want this policy to respond when those users that you have scoped it for received phishing or spam emails. So there are two types. We have the low risk and we have the high risk. So what I did is that for the low risk, I configured it that any spam email or phishing email that is considered to be of low risk, it should be sent to junk. While any spam or phishing email that is considered to be of high confidence risk, it should be quarantined. So this is how I scoped the what do they call it? The spam email under bulk email threshold and spam properties. So as you can see, this is it. So I just left the how I want it to be aggressive at the default setting, which is 7. So afterwards, I clicked on next. Then before I clicked on next, I screenshot this page again to evidence my steps. Then I renamed it as default bulk email threshold and spam policy settings. Then I clicked on next. Then I was brought to this page. This is the page. Okay, sorry, this is the page that has to do with the high and the low confidence. So I scoped this policy accordingly. Then I screenshot it and renamed it. Then I was brought to this page, allow and block list. So basically, I just left this as being default. I left it as default because when I read it, I felt like there was nothing to be done here. Then I also asked Copilot if I was supposed to make any changes here. Copilot advised me that I should just leave it as default. So just to make sure that everything is clean and I don't really do too much that I'm not requested of. So I clicked on next here. Then I renamed it to allow and block list left empty to avoid bypassing security controls. So I just left that default setting. Then next, I came to review. So I reviewed the policy that I have scoped to ensure that it meets the requirements of the use case. So as you can see, the policy name, the description, the users that I'm supposed to scope it for, which is the CEO and the CFO. Then I screenshot this page. Then I also created the policy. So this is it. The policy has been created. Then, in order for me to test the efficacy of the policy, I now so this is when the policy has been created. So next, so in order to test the efficacy of the policy to see whether the policy has taken effect, I now simulated an attacker. I did an attacker simulation, which was also in the requirements because we were asked to send a GTOP email to one of the users that we have scoped the policy for. So I chose the CEO, which is Prajip. So what I did is that I created an email. I created an email, and in that email, I now sent this GTOP. I sent this GTOP email to Prajip at platexplorer.onmicrosoft.com. So this is how my email looked like when I was sending the message. So then after that, I screenshot this page again for documentation's sake. Then I sent it. So when I sent it, I now went back to Microsoft Defender for Office 365 to check whether the user actually received the email or the policy behaved as it was expected to behave. That is, whenever the CEO or the CFO receive a spam or phishing email, depending on the level of depending on the level, whether it is low risk or high risk, it is to either move to junk or is to be quarantined. So I went there to confirm if the policy behaved as I configured it. So after sending the GTOP spam test email, I went to the quarantine. I went to the quarantine page, and you'll find that under email and collaboration. So I went to the quarantine page, and I didn't find anything there. Surprisingly, I didn't find anything. It was supposed to. The email, the GTOP email, was supposed to drop on this quarantine page because that was how I configured it. So I didn't find anything. I was curious. Then I now asked Copilot, why did the email not? Why did the policy not behave as expected? So Copilot now advised me that I should go to Microsoft. I should go to Explorer. Maybe the test spam email is not a high level spam. That is why it did not drop on quarantine. So it's a low level spam. That's why it moved to junk. So so I was confused. So Copilot educated me on that. So I went to Explorer. So this is Explorer page. I went to Explorer. So I searched on the recipient. The recipient, that's the person, the recipient of the email. That is the CEO. So I clicked on it. Then I scrolled down and I saw it. I was very happy when I saw it. This is it. So it dropped in the junk folder. So actually the policy behaved as expected. So it did not go through to the personal inbox of the CEO. It actually dropped in the spam email. So with this, I was very happy that I successfully configured this policy and the policy behaved as expected. So I now went back to Copilot and I asked Copilot to give me a code documenting all the processes, all the steps I took to arrive at this successful code that policy that I've configured. So this was what Copilot gave me. Copilot gave me this. So what I did was that. So I had issue. I just copied and pasted. I copied from Copilot and pasted it here. So when I clicked on review, the images were not showing like this. The images were not showing like this. So I now screenshot. What I do is that I screenshot the page that I'm having problem with. Then I paste it on Copilot and I see that help me troubleshoot it. So Copilot said the reason why this page was not showing as it is now is because I did not do, there were certain things I was supposed to do on this my GitHub repository. I was supposed to upload those screenshots. I was supposed to upload the screenshot on my GitHub repository. Then he also said some other things that I cannot, they were so technical that I cannot explain now. So I did that. I actually followed the instruction given to me by Copilot. I uploaded all my screenshots. Then at the end of the day, everything just turned out as everything turned out beautifully, as you can see on my screen. So that's that. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Clement, for that, well broken down explanation of the process you went through. And I'm happy to hear you got frustrated at some point because you were like, oh, but I did the test. I configured the policy. Why is the email not going into quarantine? Just to find out that it actually acted how you configured it, because the email was a low confidence spam. So you can see that just shows us the benefit of tests. Because if you don't test your policy, you would never really know the implications, right? And that goes back to your question, Bumi, where you were like, okay, I did the click, but what's the effect, right? So that's why it's always good to, if you configure something, in fact, that policy is useless unless you test it, because there's no corporate organization that would give you the approval to implement your policy globally, like, tenant wide, if you don't have a test report. So they will always ask you, how have you tested this? How does this work? Right? And you need to be able to present that proof to them that this is the exact way this policy I've created would work to protect our organization. And when they look at it, they're like, oh, okay, then they would approve. So usually we will call that a change request. So you need to always submit a change request. And then as part of the change request, they would ask you, what's the proof of, execution of tests, right? And then that way, and that's why also documenting gives you that confidence, because you're able to say, these are the exact steps I took. You don't need to even go to the portal to show them. Your document will speak louder than any other thing. Right. So thank you very much, Clement. And I'm happy to hear that, Solomon also was inspired by the work you did. Right. So thanks for, setting the pace on that. So do we have any other questions? Oh, Precious is currently on hold. I know Chidima was with us earlier. I think she probably dropped maybe because of a connection issue or something. But do we have any questions so far? Or are we happy for me to then, take us through the documentation process, how to actually use GitHub? Any questions? And have we found this, the last, say, 50 minutes we've spent together, have we actually found it helpful, learning from each other's mistakes, learning from each other's, the thought process and what have you? Have we actually found it helpful for everyone on the call right now? Yes, Vadim.
Right. So I have two questions, but I just want to be quick. So where Clement added in user groups and tenants, he added CEO and CFO. I added all company also. That shouldn't be an issue, or it would be an issue. All company like users.
Yeah. So the advice would be applied specifically to the CEO and CFO users. And that's just because if this was a policy that could break something, what that means is you have deployed a policy to everybody in the organization, and people would start to ring you. Like, you can imagine if this was a live, organization, so the support desk would go out of, like, it would blow up, because people would start to call, why am I not receiving my emails? What's going on? My emails are going to junk. I can't find it. The vendor is saying they sent me an email and I can't see it and stuff like that. So you don't ever you don't ever want to be in that situation. So when you're creating a policy for the first time, it's always advisable, pick a guinea pig. It can be someone in your team. It can be someone, it can be an agreed, we would always call them champion users, right? So that's another word for saying those are our guinea pigs. So you need to always pick a guinea pig, pick specific users. So, and in this case, the users we're working with is the CEO email address and the CFO. So you can apply to any of them, right? And then, yeah, so you can go ahead to change your configurations and actually change it, rather than applying to everyone in the organization. Just apply to one or two of those users, right? And that way, when you're doing your tests, you would send the test emails to those users specifically. So, and it's a good practice, especially when we then go into, a real world scenario. You always want to, you don't ever want to apply to everybody immediately. You want to test, confirm this is how it works, get the approval before then applying to everybody.
So we're better off just create two different policies. So one for CEO, CFO, and another one for the rest of the users.
Yeah, so some companies would have different policies applying to different groups of users, right? So maybe they want the policies for the finance team to be more strict than the ones for IT, right? So in that case, yes, you can have different policies for different groups of users. So yeah.
And another question. So the security policies like Microsoft Defender can be used in a small office, home office, or personal use also, for sure.
Definitely, yeah, it can.
If you're willing to pay the right money for license and everything.
Exactly. If you're willing to pay, yes. And another thing that's worth mentioning is when it comes to email protection. So Microsoft gives default email protection to their customers. So if you're buying licenses from Microsoft for your email, right, you get protections applied by default. And that's why you would notice when you were creating the policies, you would have seen inbound policy default, outbound policy default. So those are like default configurations. It's just, default protection that's applied to all users and to all users in the environment. But when you then need to make some companies would then find out that that default policy is not strict enough and they want to be more in control. They want to control what users can or cannot do. They want to create an allow list. They want to block certain users and stuff like that. So in cases like that, that's where you have to then create the custom policies and then you fine tune it to the use case, right? And if that's the case, you then need to have the right license because not all Microsoft licenses would give you access to Defender, right? And that was why I started the use case started with that question around what license do they need, right? Based on their the type of organization that they are, what's your recommendation on what's the baseline license they need for the organization to be able to use Defender, right? So not all the Microsoft licenses would give companies access to create Defender policies.
Thank you, Juan.
Brilliant. And then, okay, now in terms of the GitHub, right? How many other, who else is having issues? I know Vadim said he's trying to get clarity on creating GitHub. Is anybody else on the call having issues with that as well and needs a bit of guidance on how do I create my GitHub and document? You can just use the raise hands button. Okay, I see Solomon. Oh, but Solomon, you actually did a good job. I saw your GitHub and it looked good. But yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
I would
It's
say something on how to insert image in GitHub.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
So
brilliant.
after screenshot the page that you want to insert in the GitHub, you can just drag from that folder in which you have saved it, just drag it to the coding page on your GitHub. It will show the code automatically. It will load the link by
Yes.
itself and the image will show. That's how it works.
Thanks for that. Solomon. Yes, that's correct. So if you have a screenshot of an image, you can just drag that from and maybe you've saved it to your desktop or document. So if you just drag that file into GitHub, it's going to load the file automatically. Another thing too is if you're using the sniping tool in Windows, so the moment you take a snip of that page, if you just do a Control V, right? So just do Control V or to paste it directly in GitHub, it's going to load the code automatically. So we're going to do something in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Rather than share my screen and show the exact steps, I put the link to, so first of all, we do have a YouTube video, a guide on how to create your GitHub repository. So if you want to go through that at a later time, brilliant. Another thing is that, Vadim, are you by any chance on your laptop? And
Yes, I am.
Okay, brilliant. So do you want to share your screen and then we can walk through the steps so that anyone who watches the recording after this call, like when we drop off the call, anyone who watches the recording, they can then see what they are supposed to do. So if you want to share your screen, and then I'm just going to walk you through the process, or we are going to walk you, because as you can see, we have a lot of experts on the call.
I have all the details on another laptop because the other one like that
Okay.
didn't the mic didn't work, so I'm on a different laptop, but I'm working all the files on the other one.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Okay, in that case, I'll just share my screen. So this is going to be really quick because we already have a YouTube video on the process, right? But then just so to give a bit of guidance. And so you guys don't say, oh no, platform explorers, they just give us use cases and they tell us we are on our own. Yeah. Okay. So first things first, of course, if you come into the the repository, so this is our usual repo, right? This is where everybody gets their use cases and gets to work from. So the first thing you need to do is to actually fork the repository. The steps are in the YouTube video. And actually, no, the first thing is you need to create your GitHub account. If you haven't done that already, please do so. It's really straightforward. It's also in the YouTube video, right? So just go to github.com, create a normal account. Once you've created that, you come into the use case link, right? So if you are going to like the use case one, for example, it will open this up, right? And then because I've already forked this repository, I don't see the option here. So I'm just going to open another repository that I don't have access to. And what you would see is if you haven't already forked the repository, if you look at the top here, let me just expand this a bit. So at the top right here, you can see the option that says fork, right? And what this does is it actually creates your own copy of that repo. So the repository is like a folder or I'll just say a file share that has all of the documentations. So if I click on fork, it would then ask me, okay, what should be the repository name? Do I want to give a description? And do I also want to have a copy of the main branch and blah, blah, blah. So you can leave all of this as default and then just click on create fork. So the moment you do that, it will automatically load that repository, but in your own GitHub account. How to confirm if you've successfully forked the repository? If you click on your profile image and then you come to repositories, you would then find that repository here, and you can see it says here forked from Platform Explorers, the repo. Now, if I click on that, I would see, I actually forked this before all other coaches brought their, added their own updates, added their own use cases and all of that, right? But basically, you would then see all the folders in that repository. And then if I click on this particular folder, the cybersecurity one, I can then see our cybersecurity use case. But of course, what I want to do here is I've been asked to create a document to document my steps, right? So now when I come to the cybersecurity folder, I can click on the plus icon here that says add file. Now, when I click on that, it's going to, by default, it's going to try to create the file in the cybersecurity folder, right? I can also choose to create the file in my own separate folder, but that's it's fine to create it directly under the cybersecurity so that the file gets saved under this, it becomes a child to this parent folder. So now let's take, for example, I can name this file the same name I have for the policy I created, or I can just say, solution to use case 1. Now, one thing that you need to know about documenting in GitHub, if you only put the name of the file and you don't put a .md, at the end. You must always put a .md if you want the file to be readable, right? So if you want it to be in a readable format, you must always put a .md at the end of the file name. So now I've done that and I can start to document. So how do you document in GitHub? It's really simple. First of all, you can, like Clement did, if you want to go Clement's route, you can create your own document in a separate, like maybe in a Google Doc or whatever, or a Microsoft Word. Create your document, copy it, paste it in Copilot, and ask Copilot to make this in a GitHub ready format for documentation. It would format it and you can paste it here and you can then, have your document, you commit the change and it's ready to go. Or you can build from scratch. You can actually do your documentation from here. So how do you document in GitHub? If you just start to write, for example, introduction, this is my solution to the use case. If you just start to type this way and you click preview, this is going to be how your documentation is going to be. No formatting, no special, headings and stuff like that. But if you wanted to make this a heading so that it stands out when people open up your GitHub repo, they can see what you've done, it looks good. You need to add the hash. Yeah, so you need to put a hash in front of it. So the moment I put this hash and I put a space, it's important to put the space. So the moment I put the hash and then the space before introduction, if I go to preview, you can see now it's made this into a heading. If I wanted to then have a subheading under this, maybe I want to say, step 1, create the policy. If I go to preview, yet again, step 1, there's no special formatting for it. If I want to make this a subheading to introduction, then I need to put the hash twice, put the space as usual. If I go back to preview, now you see it's definitely smaller than the introduction, heading, right? And then if you have a screenshot, say for example, I have done my documentation and then maybe I want to then, let's assume that this was the Defender portal and I want to take a screenshot of this and put it in my documentation. So I can always do, this is the sniping tool in Windows. You can use any screenshot tool basically. But then if I say new screenshot and then I take a screenshot of this and I go back to my documentation. Oh no, where is it? Okay, yeah. I go back here. If I just do a paste, right? So I can right click and say paste, or I do a Control V because I'm using a Windows machine, right? So I can do Control V. If you're using a MacBook, you can literally just paste it, or you drag and drop. If you save the file to your, say, your folder or whatever, you can drag and drop it here. But if I do a Control V, you see it says uploading image, and Clement, this was what Solomon was saying, right? So it automatically formatted the image. And if I go to preview, I have the document ready, the screenshot ready, right? So now from what you can see that I'm already building my documentation. It's really straightforward. It's very simple. If you run into any formatting issues, you can always, ask Copilot, ask ChatGPT. And it's very important when you complete your documentation, or maybe you want to leave this page and do something else, make sure you commit changes, right? So, because if you don't commit the change, it's not going to save. And once you complete this, I want you all to feel proud of your work. Please post about it. I think I saw Clement already posted about his work on LinkedIn. Post about what you've learned on LinkedIn. Post about the problems you faced, right? The thought process you went through and all of that to even get to this point. And then that way people can see you learning. They can also learn from you. You'll be surprised there are so many people who don't know all of these things we're talking about, right? And who are willing to learn or open to learn, and they can reach out to you asking for more guidance. So I hope you found this helpful. And I hope this session has helped to create a bit of clarity in terms of what we need to do going forward. For this week and next, please refer to your tax tracker. So we have a couple of learnings for this week and next. Actually, next week I'll be assigning a new use case. But then, if you've not completed your use case for last 2 weeks, please do work to do so. If possible, before end of the week, because you also have some learnings to complete in the tax tracker. You have there's the games to also complete as well. So in terms of like understanding and remediating a threat in the environment. So you would see it all in your task tracker. Try to complete those tasks. As always, please, I would love for us to be as interactive as possible. If you're running into an issue, don't feel shy about it. Ask in the group. You'll be surprised. I might stay silent because sometimes I want to like watch and see, how do we all try to solve problems between ourselves, right? So if you have a question, post it in the group. Someone would definitely respond to it. Someone would help. But don't feel shy at all. I love for my classes to be interactive. I love for people to, share their problems, share their learnings, share when they're going beyond the scope so that we can bring you back to earth, right? So yes, thank you. Bumi, you have a question.
Yes, I wanted to ask about the GitHub. Though I have an account. I'm not sure I've ever used it anyway.
Okay.
But when you went straight, I think that it's actually linked you back to Explorer Home. I don't know if that's because you are on the platform already, or we have to get the same result. Would following your step lead me to Explorer's connect my to Explorer Zone or something? I got lost at that stage.
Yeah, so if you open, have you forked are you currently logged into GitHub?
Not at the moment, but I can log in.
Okay. Yeah. So if you log into GitHub and you open the Platform Explorer's repository, the one we always go to get the use cases. So if you open it, because you've not connected your GitHub account, like you've not created a copy of that repository just yet, you would see that, at the top earlier, I showed that it showed there was a fork option, right?
Yeah.
So you would
Yes.
definitely see that option. And the idea, what that does is it creates a copy of that repository in your own GitHub profile, so that
Okay.
going forward, you can always review the use cases. You can always create your documentations based on those use cases and what have you, right? So if you open
Okay.
it, I'm sure you will definitely see that option. You can create it in your own profile. If you go to your repositories, you would find Platform Explorers there, and you can create your documentation under that.
Okay, so I must open the two at the same time. My own login and then the one for the use case from
Yeah,
platform.
so the first step is you log into your GitHub. Once you've logged in, open the Platform Explorer's repository, fork it,
Okay.
so create a copy of it in your profile, and that's it. You can then create your documentation in that copy. So yet again, the moment you start doing it, I'm sure you would see that it's really straightforward and it's like you're following the exact same steps.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm sorry, that will be the end of Precious. I hope this is a quick question because we're already 15 minutes over time. Yes, Precious.
Yes, it's a quick one. I'm sorry for
Okay,
waiting this long.
it's fine.
First off, I left the chat mistakenly and I can't seem to rejoin it myself.
The WhatsApp chat?
No, this Teams chat here, right here.
Oh,
This call.
okay. You're not missing anything.
Okay.
We haven't really been using the chat.
Okay. Secondly, I'm trying to fork the cybersecurity repository and I'm getting an error message, an unexpected
Okay.
error occurred. I've been trying that since the beginning of the call.
Oh, well, that's weird.
Yes.
Okay, if it's not creating the copy for you,
Okay.
you can just wait, sorry. So if it's not creating a copy for you, I would
Okay.
ask Rachel to take a look at it, but if you can take a screenshot of the error you're getting and share it with us. But what you can,
Alright.
don't let that stop you from your documentation anyways, right?
Okay.
So you can still create your own repository. So if you go to your, what's it called? If you click on your profile link, and then if you go to repositories, so you should be able to create a new repository, right? So you would see the option for new. So you can create your own fresh repository and do your documentation in there while waiting for the connection to like be able to create a copy of the Platform Explorers one. The reason we advise people to create that copy is even when the cohort ends, you still have access to all the use cases. You can always, practice at your own time and stuff like that. That's really the main reason we ask people to create a copy.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. And yeah, sorry for going over time, but I hope we found today's session helpful and it gave a bit of, a lot of clarity in terms of like why we are doing what we are doing, and what are the best practices when it comes to, creating policies. So yeah, happy learning this week. And like I said, please, let's keep it as interactive as possible. You have a question, you face a roadblock, don't hesitate to, shout out, share with the group, and so that we all learn collectively, yeah. All right, enjoy your weekend, guys. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, bye.